was always a big fan of Superman. When I collected comic books as a kid, I had Spider-Man and Batman and everybody else, but I do have a lot of Superman comics. I have Action Comics and Superman. I have lots of World's Finest. I like the team up issues with Martian Manhunter and Batman. But I do have a lot of Superman comics, mostly from the 70s and 80s, but a few interesting ones also from the 1960s. I like seeing how the style evolves over time, and I like the way Superman had to deal with regular problems also, even though he was the most powerful man in the world, in the universe, right? They still gave him Clark Kent, and he still had to learn to be a regular person and to live life as a regular person. When the movie came out, we were all very excited. Everybody was super excited about what the movie was going to be like. I was already into movies as a kid, and I followed the news and the promotional materials as it came out with a lot of interest. And even though I was a kid, I recognized that there were big stars in this movie, right? Even though I didn't know really who Marlon Brando or Gene Hackman were, I was also smitten with Miss Tessmacher back then. And I was, of course, really interested in who was going to play Superman. This guy, Christopher Reeve, who had starred in some movies, but we didn't really know who he was yet. We collected all of the Superman stuff. We would go to the Burger Kings and McDonald's when they had the glass giveaways. I had so much stuff, a lot of it's gone missing, but it's interesting. I still have a couple of things floating around. I had to have the novelization for the movie, and I'm lucky to still have some of these things, including a couple of old cars, Shrinky Dinks. Shrinky Dinks were really big back then. And then other things I collected just over the years. I also have most of the original card set from the first film, which is interesting. It's fun to go through those. There's Miss Tessmacher again. A big part of being Superman is also being Clark Kent, and that's, I think, something that was really interesting about Christopher Reeve, is he plays a great Superman, but he also plays a great Clark Kent. I think I was 10 or 11 when the film came out. I was in either 5th or 6th grade when the film came out. I was always a good kid, and I think that's something I'm sure that has to do with why I like Superman, right? Superman always does the right thing. And that's kind of what I was like as a kid. I still am like that. I like to follow the rules. I like things to be fair. I always behaved. Straight A's in conduct, always a pleasure to be in class. I don't look at this embarrassingly now. I'm proud of it. I'm proud that I was a good kid. Always with good behavior on the playground and at camp. When I was in 5th or 6th grade, my teacher's daughter worked on a TV show in New York City. It was the Bill Boggs. I think it was called Midday with Bill Boggs. That was the name of the host. And we got to go on the show as audience members. And I don't remember if we knew ahead of time that it was going to be Christopher Reeve on the show, but we knew that it was going to be a big star. And when we got there and found out that it was going to be Superman, we got to ask him questions, and they were going to pick a couple of us to go on air and meet him. And I was one of the lucky kids that got to go on air during the show and meet Christopher Reeve. And that's me sitting on his knee with Bill Boggs, the host, on the left. I also still have the 3x5 index card that we got to write the questions for Christopher Reeve on, and I guess I wrote down good questions because they picked me. I asked him if he collected Superman comics, and did he admire Superman when he was my age, and did he like playing Superman? And I remember him answering the question about comics, that he didn't really collect too many, but he did do a lot of research for the film. I had a mostly happy childhood. We had a pool in our backyard. We had this big corner lot in this big backyard, and we got to do pool parties for kids in the summer. And my birthday was in August, so we got to do my birthday always by the pool. My mother, for a couple of years, we were so into superheroes. I had Superman everything, right? So I had a Superman themed birthday party. I had a Superman themed cake. This is a great picture from one of the parties, and it's a lot of the neighborhood kids. And my friend John, I'm in the bottom right-hand corner. My friend John is in the bottom left-hand corner. John and I really were best friends. We when we were little and then into grade school. After we got to grade school, I went to a different school. I transferred schools and I made some new friends, and we drifted apart. a little bit in grade school and in high school, but we always kept in touch over the years. And it's always fun to go back and see old pictures of the two of us when we got to hang out together, because even though we weren't always like best friends once we got into middle school, we had the core memories of being friends when we were little. So whenever we saw each other, it was always great fun. I think this is at my grandparents' house. We're throwing snowballs, and he just has this great look on his face in this picture. John unfortunately died of COVID. We were friendly on social media, and we chat once in a while. And he and his partner were starting a family. He was doing well in work. He was a tattoo artist, and he had other jobs in creative arts. And his passing hit me really hard. When people would say that COVID wasn't dangerous, all I could think of was my poor friend John, who who I was so close to when we were little kids. And John and I shared other interests. We were both interested in computers, and when they were new, and we were interested in art. We both liked to draw. I found this birthday card that John drew for my birthday one year, and it's my bedroom. You can see exactly like in that previous picture, my computer in front of the TV and my desk in front of the window. It's this amazing thing that I have. But we were both artists. We both like to draw, and I also found this class assignment of I think this was based on something from The Little Prince, and it had to do with like making a family crest, right? But this was just a way to show your own interests, right? So I had to talk about what kind of job I might have had, and I talked about maybe flying airplanes in the past in World War II, and you have to talk about what job you might hold, and I say that I wanted to be an artist, and I'm glad that I ended up doing something related to art, being a filmmaker. And then, of course, what it is that you wish you could do. And, of course, I had to write down that I wish I could fly like Superman. And I think my drawing is, representative and looks a little bit like the flying Supermans from all the photos from the movie. We also have to write in here what it is that we're most proud of. And I wrote about how I'm happy. And I don't know if my parents weren't divorced yet, but I think I saw it coming. I think there were things happening in my life, and I think this might have been a little bit of self reassurance that things were going to be okay. But it's a feeling that I'm glad that I recognized in myself then, and I still try to recognize now that we don't have a lot of time here on this planet, and we better enjoy ourselves while we're here. And it's good to be happy. When the new Superman film came out, I wanted to go to a nice old theater, so we went down to the Lake Theater in Oak Park, which is a classic movie theater. And I took my kids. I represented. I love Superman. And I was also able to go with my girlfriend and her kids and share the experience together. And it was a wonderful time. And I like the new movie. It's good. It's different than Christopher Reeves, but I think it honors the memory of the past, and it's a good film. Anyway, this was the story of how I met Christopher Reeve.